Hi, I'm Justin, and this is just a conversation.
Perfect. Okay. I have no notes for this one because I'm actually super excited. I think I'm talking to you after the biggest moment in your life thus far.
Yeah.
Uh, I want to know give me all the details about the proposal.
All right. Yeah. So, I told you like my initial plan, right? And for people who don't know the initial plan, it was to like go to these flea markets in Paris. So I was in Paris for the Olympics. And the initial plan was to go to these flea markets and find a ring with her and everything and ask her by buying the ring like at the flea markets. Uh, Straight up did not happen. The flea markets in Paris, like it was sketchy as fuck. There was nothing there. I couldn't find a real piece of jewelry to save my life. Like everything was fake. And so we went out to dinner one night. And I said, "Hey, while we're here, I want to buy a ring." And she just kind of looked at me like, what are you talking about? I love her to death. She's so smart. It was a moment where it was like, it just wasn't processing. Um, And so I'm like, I am formally asking you to marry me. Exact words. And she's like, her face lit up. She's like, yes, yes, yes. Like in the middle of this restaurant with like three people in it, including ourselves. Um, and so from there, the hunt was on again to find a ring. We ended up going to like well over like 15 individual stores, I think, over the course of like, we dedicated an afternoon and we went to like 15 different places, I think.
Mhm.
And finally, the last one, we're like, okay, if we don't find um, a ring, we'll push it off till tomorrow. We'll go to another district of the city and check it out. We walk in, and uh, she kind of looks at what they have, and she sees one, and she's like, "This is, that's the one." And she tried it on, and she loved it, and it was like one size off of hers, so they could add like a little bit more metal, and so they resized it, and it was real silver and it's for like sterling silver or whatever, so it like won't tarnish. But real metal, real gemstone. And so we've got engaged in Paris, found an engagement ring in Paris, and uh it was a little stressful, but we're both very happy with how it turned out.
It's
Yeah.
stupid cute. Stupid cute.
This is what you get for like deciding to be in a relationship with like a filmmaker and a storyteller.
Hmm.
I'm gonna find the way to make it the most like rom-com moment ever.
Was her family there?
So her mom and her younger brother were,
Okay.
but neither of them were present for the proposal or the getting of the ring.
Okay.
It was a very like intimate thing between the two of us, just because it was, it's only for the two of us. It's not sure, it is the whole like the joining of two families and everything, but it's like
Hmm.
ultimately it is our moment, and I decided it was, best if they didn't know when it was going to occur. Like I told them it would happen in Paris. But I thought it was best if they didn't know when it would occur, where it would occur, or how it would occur. So I think that made it even more special just because it was the two of us.
I'm mad that I didn't get a picture of mid proposal.
There was no one to take a picture mid proposal. Like I said, there
That's
was
the
like,
that's my only criticism is that there was no one to get a Justin on his knee asking.
so I never got on my knee.
Even when you had the ring,
Even when I had the ring, I still haven't gotten on the knee.
what are we doing?
Honestly, uh, I kind of fumbled in the moment.
Okay, okay.
I was at this restaurant, and like, I kid you not, it was the like literal hole in the wall, the size of my apartment.
Okay.
Um, it was us two, like one or two other people, and like the maitre d. And like I wasn't gonna ask this random guy I just met to take a picture of me like nonchalantly,
Yeah.
because that would have given it away immediately. I feel like that would have, especially in the moment, would have given away exactly what was happening.
Hmm.
Because I was super nervous, like mid conversation. We were talking about the plans for the vacation because we were like 2, 3 days in when like I asked her, and talk about like what we wanted. Yes.
It wasn't 2 or 3 days in.
No, yes, it was.
How long did I have to wait to know?
We waited to tell like basically everyone until we had the ring.
One, second thing I'm mad at. social media found out before me. Whatever.
That is, yeah, that was a slip on my part. I admit.
Whatever. I understand. It's a big thing.
If it makes you feel any better, I apparently forgot to tell my brother that I was going to propose.
He didn't
So
know.
no, bro found out via social media.
Okay.
He found out via my Instagram post. He like texted me, he's like, "Hey, why didn't you tell me?" I was like, "I swear to God, I told you." Like, I thought I did. Because like I had a sit down conversation with my parents and stuff, and I thought he was there. And
Hmm.
you know my brother, he's like the person that will be in like the background of a conversation and not say anything.
Yep.
So like I guess I inserted him into this conversation in my mind and just called it good. So I kind of dropped the ball on the telling people part
Hmm.
because I was too focused on like the mode of getting the ring.
Look, it's fair. I get it. It's your moment. But just as a fan of it, I was mad
Yeah,
that I had to wait a little bit.
that's fair. That's fair. I respect it.
Hey, what did you like have like anything like written out when like you asked her?
Dude, I'm telling you right now, I completely improvised.
You fumbled
I
into it.
uh, I didn't fumble
No
because
fumble, clean.
it was a very smooth, clean transition.
Okay.
Because the conversation, like I was saying, we were talking about what we wanted to do like on the vacation because we had like literally just gotten there like 2 or 3 days ago.
Hmm.
We were talking about like what we wanted to get out of it, and really like casually, I was like, while we're here, I think we should get a ring. Like and again, like deer in the headlights moment where she was like, what? Like completely froze, just was not computing, which to me was hilarious. I had to like talk like a lawyer, and I am formally asking you to marry me. Will you please marry me? It like you said, it was a cute as hell. Like it's a great like rom-com moment. Because if I could play that film back, it would get laughs.
Okay. Besides that, what was the best part of Paris?
So I'm gonna give you a twofold answer. Um, I'm gonna give you best thing about like being in Paris specifically, and then like
Okay.
best part of the trip because two
Okay.
different things.
Okay.
Best part of being in Paris specifically was just like it was so cool. But the best part of it for me, I think, moment wise, was there was this like jazz club that was just incredible. And I sent you some video of it. But it was like that scene in La La Land where he like shows Emma Stone the jazz club for the first time. And it's this super energetic, really incredible thing. Didn't hurt that the drinks were amazing as well, but it was just so cool to be sitting in Paris listening to this incredible jazz music, like in the front row, because I went a couple times. And the first night I went, me and her brother went. We were just bored wandering the city, uh, and ended up at this jazz club. And we got there, and they put us right in the front row. We got our drinks, and we're just watching this really incredible performance, like with the performer like no more than 3 feet away from us. It was awesome. It's wild to see these, musicians who are, more than likely never going to be famous. They're playing jazz, but they're
Relative.
like fame. Like they're not going to reach the level of like Olivia Rodrigo or Taylor Swift or whatever.
Hmm.
But they're these incredibly talented musicians who are at the top of their game, respectively, on their instruments. Just playing at this bar in the middle of the city, to a crowd of like maybe 20 to 40 people, just all sitting around and listen. But all the attention is on them. No one is looking at their phones. No one's having a conversation. It's just 40 sets of eyes staring at these people just playing this incredible music. There's nothing quite like it. As for honorable mention, I went to a bookstore and a bar, two separate places, but
Okay.
they were both frequented by like the writers of the Lost Generation. So F. Scott Fitzgerald, Gertrude Stein, Ernest Hemingway. Ernest Hemingway is my favorite author. So it was really cool to go to this city where he spent so much of his life and go to kind of the places that he used to hang out at.
Explain that
Um,
to me. That because one of the things you did was you went to the place that Shakespeare wrote.
no, no, no. So it's not where Shakespeare wrote, but it's a bookstore called Shakespeare and Company, which is like this bookstore that it's a really like probably the most famous bookstore in the world, like standalone bookstore, not
Hmm.
like Barnes and Noble. Um, but it's just this really famous place to go where like Ernest Hemingway used to hang out there, and my history might be a bit foggy, but I know that like the writers used to go there and get their books, and they were friends of the owners and everything.
Okay.
And by that same token, there was this bar called Harry's New York Bar that like invented all these super famous cocktails, like the French 75, the Boulevardier, the Bloody Mary, stuff like that. He like this one bartender guy invented all these cocktails. And it was the bar that like I said, F. Scott Fitzgerald, Gertrude Stein, uh, Zelda Fitzgerald, Ernest Hemingway, they all like hung out there while they were living in Paris in the 1920s. And it was just so cool to sit and visit these places where, some of my favorite authors used to just hang out and exist. Just really, really cool. Um, second, second part of the answer of the things that weren't in Paris but were really cool. Going to Champagne was pretty neat. That was really cool. I saw Monet's Gardens, which
Those
were,
pictures were crazy.
dude, it's probably the most beautiful place I've ever been.
I feel like everywhere you look is just like a picture frame.
Yeah, I mean, it's where Monet spent like 40 years of his life painting, so it's going to be incredible. Those were really cool. Obviously, I went to the Olympics. That was pretty cool.
Hmm.
But somehow that doesn't crack the top five. So
Okay.
wild trip.
Congrats on you on not doing the stereotypical proposal in front of the Eiffel Tower.
I don't think I could have if I wanted to.
Why?
Because the Eiffel Tower, like the park
Oh,
close
because
to
it
it.
was so included in the stadiums.
That was an Olympic venue, so I couldn't get there
Uh,
without a ticket. Um, I could have like asked her like near the Eiffel Tower, but
okay.
I had decided ahead of time that I wasn't going to do that. There was
Okay.
not in front of the Eiffel Tower, not at the Arc de Triomphe, not nowhere like super touristy.
Okay. This next 30 seconds is for me and possibly for you in the future. What is Justin's current prediction on the last name decision? Because
There,
I just want Justin right now, August 8th, 2024, to give his what he thinks in the future will be the end decision and see if he was right or not.
uh, I think Meyer George, a hyphenated.
My prediction, both of you keep your last names. So we're gonna see who's right at the wedding. This was just what I was super stoked to talk about.
Yeah.
Now we can get a normal Justin stuff.
Okay.
So,
Cool.
second biggest thing of your life, Justin is very much beginning adult part of his life
Yeah.
and
It's
making big
it's
moves.
strange.
So we moved to Boston in how long?
We moved to Boston in from now, I think, a little over 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks. Yep. Actually, yeah, 2 weeks.
What are predictions for Boston? How do we think it's gonna go?
I think it's gonna be great. I'm I'm really, really excited. Um, the apartment looks fantastic. The hardest part's gonna be the move. I hate moving. Or maybe I don't hate moving, I hate change. But it's I'm a little stressed right now just because I kind of have to pack my life up into a U-Haul and move across the country. Uh, kind of kind of scary leaving behind everything I've ever known to, go to this place I've never been before. Uh, but I think it's going to be really cool. I think I'm going to love Boston. I've been told that by the people that I know that have lived in or currently live in Boston, that I will fit right in. Weirdo artsy kid moving into, this weirdo artsy part of the city. Apparently it had, for me at least, I'm very excited. It has a strong like film scene as well. So all of my film nerds are going to be out there. And there's a really, really huge like punk, hardcore, and metal scene out there. Like New England as a whole produces like some of the best like punk in the country. So I'll be spin kicking kids at basement shows for years to come, and getting beat out of me. I'm gonna wear a mouth guard and earplugs. That's for Haley, just so she knows. I think it's gonna be a lot of fun. I think I'm gonna have a really, really good time out there.
Okay, when you're watching a movie and we have film brain on,
Okay.
what gets you to go, this is a good movie or this isn't a good movie? What's like the number one where you're like, yeah, this didn't do it for me.
Uh, in all honesty, the script. The script has to be good. Um, it can, things can, I can accept certain things. Like I can accept a little bit of like wooden performance. I can accept a little bit of like, ooh, that was a weird cut. That was a strange edit. Um, but if the script isn't good, if the story itself, it doesn't, not everything has to be Lord of the Rings. You don't have to have this big arching epic. It can be the story of, you know, a guy going to get a hamburger and gets crazy along the way. As long as it's compelling, I'm in. Um, and I love a hangout movie. I love movies where the plot is we're going to a party, things happen. Um, in which case the story doesn't have to be what drives it. Just the dialogue has to be good. Like those two things in conjunction make for a great movie. If the dialogue is good, it's snappy, it's well written, it's clever, and like the arc of the story, like there is at least a little bit of trajectory to like, well, it flows well. If this is making any sense, that's
Hmm.
the biggest indicator that something is good. And then you get on to the technical side of things like cinematography, sound design, etc., the direction, stuff like that, performances, obviously. And it's a thing of beauty when it fires on all cylinders. When a movie checks every little tick box and you're like, this is incredible. I'm having such a good time. I might feel like shit. It might be the saddest movie I've ever seen. But if it ticks every single box, like it does everything the way it needs to, it's a damn near religious experience. I've felt closer to God in a movie theater than I ever did in a church.
That's crazy. That's a bar. Um, I think for art in general, the best art is from artists who, whatever their medium is, music, film, photography, whichever, where that is just the only way they know how to express the thing.
Mm-hmm.
And like going into it with like the mindset of, I want to make a movie because I think movies are cool. I think you can make great movies like that. But I think the best movies always come from, I literally don't know how to say this any other way than a 2 hour cinema project.
Yeah. So, and I mean, that's you just described the line like that divides at least current American cinema. You've got I like movies. Movies are cool. Let's make a movie, which is like the Michael Bay school of filmmaking. And that's fun. That's fine. That's cool. I can see, different director, but I can see John Wick go through and kill everyone for 2 hours and have a good time. Or I can, go see, I don't know, Poor Things or something and, watch something that is just this artistic outpouring from everyone involved. Or, How to Blow Up a Pipeline, which is one of the angriest movies I've ever seen. And it feels like on every level, that is something that the director is frustrated with the climate crisis and is this is the only way they know how to speak out about it. And I love it when a movie has not only something to say, but like you said, it's the only way the director could have possibly gotten that message across, which is why I love it when a movie is angry.
What is Justin's favorite movie in each category?
Uh, so I'm going to divide these into two categories of
Okay.
like, uh, so I'm going to give these categories the names that I use
Hmm.
to categorize them. We have popcorn movies over here, which is like the fun little act, not only action movies, but things that are simply meant to be consumed. And we have I hate to use the word cinema, but just like the like serious cinema and popcorn movies.
Hmm.
It's the titles need work. This is not a perfect ranking system, obviously. But in either category, currently, my favorite popcorn movie is God, this is a tough question. We'll start with serious cinema first then.
Okay.
Serious movie, my favorite movie of all time is Amadeus. It's a film about Mozart. I've ranted about it ad nauseum. You've heard this before. I love it so much. Favorite popcorn movie, Top Gun.
The first one?
The original Top Gun. I love Top Gun. Um, Other contenders in that category are Predator, Die Hard. Basically anything you could show your dad and he'd be like, "Oh, this is a great movie." I love those movies. I love a cheesy like pre-2010s action flick so much.
Your Top Gun is my Bullet Train.
That's fair.
I
Those
don't I don't get the Top Gun appeal. It's pretty to me. But
I
man, Bullet Train does it for me.
I mean, I'm also admitting like 80s action and like schlocky 70s through like 90s horror are
Hmm.
just my favorite things in this world. I love a bad horror movie just as much as I love like the top tier like shining gem like of cinema movies like Amadeus, There Will Be Blood, stuff like that. Those are fun. I don't always want that. I don't always want like a 5-star Michelin like starred meal. Sometimes I want a cheeseburger from McDonald's.
Hmm.
And I I can turn off my cinema brain or I can have a good time and leave it on and still watch the schlock. It's either way, I'm having a good time. You know, as long as I'm watching a movie, I'm probably having a good time.
So Justin can be a fan as well. I feel like
Justin,
that's a thing a lot of critics I feel like I see is like they're like, I am always a critic. Everything. And like there's no level of like, but I'm a fan too.
I would say I'm a fan before I'm a critic.
Okay.
Having written a lot of criticism of movies, uh, I find that I write more positive reviews than negative reviews. Like I can hate on a movie if I like feel the need to. Like if it genuinely upset me with how bad it was, I will let you know. But I go into a movie wanting to like it. And it's pretty rare for me to find a movie that I don't rate at least 3 out of 5 stars.
Sell me on horror movies. I don't I I don't get the enjoyment of feeling scared.
Okay, I have like the ideal pitch for this.
Okay,
Um, you ever been on a roller coaster?
I have.
You know that feeling you get right as you're coming to the top. Imagine you're in the first car,
Okay.
like on the train,
Yep.
and you get to the top of the roller coaster. Let's say it's Magnum Force or whatever. You get to the edge and you look down, and you see the drop. You know two things. One, you are going to go down there whether you want to or not. And second, you are perfectly safe. As you come to the top, you still have this instinctual fear of that plummet. And then it freezes for, it freezes for a second at the top, letting you look down. It's whoever designed this roller coaster knows that moment before the drop is just as important as the drop itself. And then you go flying down. It's all in motion. It is fear in a safe and fun environment, just like a horror movie.
Where did the love for specifically horror come from?
This is actually really funny. I'm glad you brought this up. Um, as you know, with my family, Halloween is huge. My dad loves Halloween. I have loved Halloween ever since like as far back as I can remember. Favorite day of the year. I love October so much. I live for October. Well, the funny part is, up until about the time I was like 15, I was like scared of my own shadow. I was scared of everything. I couldn't do haunted houses. I couldn't watch scary things. Courage the Cowardly Dog freaked me out. Coraline. I remember I went to one of my elementary school friends like birthday like Halloween parties. And they started watching Goosebumps and I had to tap out.
True.
Uh
True.
I remember my dad around the same time. Like I discovered Wikipedia. And I got an iPod and I got Wikipedia. Um, and I would like scroll through the like movies tab on iTunes just to see what was like the top 10. and like consistently, like Friday the 13th, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, yada yada yada, we're all in the top 10. And they had like those gnarly early 2000 or mid 2000s like covers where everything just looked like super desaturated and like the cover of like the Saw DVDs at Best Buy. And it scared me, but I was intrigued. So I would, Google them, like put them in Wikipedia and see what they were about. And around this time, I was like, the kids that were, reading those and the kids that were in our grade were, had some questionable parenting decisions, but they were being allowed to watch these movies. And I remember hearing about Freddy Krueger from a kid in our class, and one of my cousins also like dressed up as Freddy Krueger for Halloween that year. And I was like, Dad, who's this? What's this Freddy Krueger thing? And he told me it's like, oh, it's this, it's from a scary movie from the 80s. He's this guy who, died in this, like, he was killed by these parents of these teenagers. And he comes back in their dreams and like hunts them in their dreams. And if they die in the dream, they die in real life. And that was not what I needed to hear as a like 10-year-old who was afraid of his shadow. It freaked me the fuck out. I couldn't sleep for a couple days. And so I had this really interesting relationship with horror movies because they scared the hell out of me growing up. One more slightly embarrassing story, and we'll move on with the point. I remember in kindergarten, my teacher took our teacher, Mrs. Grimes, took us to a like apple orchard around Halloween time. And someone mentioned that they thought she was going to bring us into the haunted house that was on this apple orchard. And I started to cry. I was so scared of going into like the haunted house that like I could see in the distance that I started to cry. And Mrs. Grimes had to like tell me like, no, I'm not going to send you. Like, man up, you're not going to the haunted house. And so just like this long line of like incidents where I'm like trying to avoid being scared at all costs. And then and then the turning point happened, which was I discovered, well, two things. I discovered Stephen King. In our ninth grade English class, Mrs. Orlasky had a copy of a Stephen King book called Salem's Lot, which had this really cool cover on it, and there were like someone getting their neck bitten, but a vampire bites on someone's neck. And I ended up reading this book like in the free reading time over the course of like a month and a half. And it changed my life. I was terrified, but I couldn't stop reading it. So that combined with watching Halloween, like the 1978 Halloween film for the first time, changed my life. I watched Halloween, The Shining, Friday the 13th, Texas Chainsaw Massacre, like all the classics in the course of about a month. And I swear to God, it altered my brain chemistry. Because I was doing that. I was reading Stephen King books. And over the course of about a month, I became the biggest horror fan in the world. And here I am today making horror movies, and it's fun. My mom still gets a kick out of it whenever I talk about how much I love horror, because she was like, "You were afraid of everything growing up. What the happened to you?"
See,
So, yeah.
I'm the opposite. I was younger. I like scary stuff. I like that Goosebumps. I like Courage the Curly Dog. I grind it, and then I got like 13. I was like, I watched Paranormal Activity, and I said, I'm good.
That's fair. I think for me, there was always this kind of allure of like to horror because it was something that I couldn't watch. Like my parents wouldn't let me,
Mm-hmm.
obviously. But it was also like, there's this era of like forbiddenness.
Mm-hmm.
When Blockbuster was a thing, going into Blockbuster and just looking at the covers on the horror movies, or going into Best Buy and looking at the covers on the horror movies. It was just, they looked cool. I knew they would scare the hell out of me. And there was also like the little bit of like in crowd of like the people in our classes, 10 years old watching Halloween. And just them talking about it, like there was this in group of like, I've seen this and you haven't. Um, it kind of felt like, there was like this, sounds silly to say, but there was like this rebellious sort of outlaw edge to it of just like, this is things I shouldn't be seeing. but I am. Um, and then I started watching the horror movies and I'm like, well, no, I was scared at first, and then I started watching more and more of them, and it's like this is just fun. I'm having a good time now. I'm riding the roller coaster. At first it was like the drop, like the that moment right before the drop, and now I'm in. It's so much. It's fun to me, and I understand why people don't like it, but for me, it's there's nothing quite like it.
What is Justin's goals in the film industry?
My goal, so there are twofold goals. Um, my first and primary goal is to be able to make a living doing film related stuff, whether that be I'm an editor, I'm a cinematographer, whatever, working as a crew member on productions. My big boy goal, the one where it's just like hell or high water, I want this to happen at least at some point in my life, is that I want to be a director, like direct a feature film, or preferably more than one. Um, and I have a bottle of wine selected that is only to be opened at the premiere of my first like feature film. So I'm very excited. That's like the big goals is to one, make a career out of it, and two, like have my own movie made. I'm not talking like it doesn't need to be $100 million production. It can be I made this movie with my spare money, my friends, and like three cameras we had laying around. Like as long as I'm proud of it, that's my biggest thing.
I just have one final question.
Yeah.
Before I go to it, is there anything that you wanted to use this platform to talk about?
Um, Not that I can think of other than watch a horror movie.
That's fair.
See, go watch a horror movie, see what it's all about. A good place to start is, Halloween, John Carpenter's Halloween from, 1978.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, like extreme forms of art are still art and they're worth checking out. Same thing applies to, music and visual art, like, painting. If it seems a little abrasive, it is for a reason. You know, dare to dive in.
Okay, final question. And I have an answer to this question if you don't.
Mhm.
Why do you think we've been friends for as long as we have?
Honestly, I think it's the fact that, we spent a lot of time together, obviously, and we had a lot of classes together. But growing up together does not ensure that a friendship remains. Um, I think that we've both evolved enough to remain interesting to one another. Um, and also I think that we are different enough to where it's like every time we interact, it's fun. If we were the same person, it would be boring and bland and like, oh, you like that, I like that too, versus we're two very different people. But somehow every time we interact, it is new and fresh and interesting, even if I'm just sitting on your couch and we're talking for 2 hours. Our goals in life, both like personally and professionally, they make sense together. It's, it's more than just I want to make a bunch of money and go live in a mansion or whatever. It's I want to create something in this world that is meaningful not only to myself but to other people. And I think that is in our own, in our own individual ways, both what we really, really want from this life. And I think that's, you know, part of why we remain so close.
Now for a serious, this is a serious moment. I wasn't sure if I was going to talk about this on here. I'll cut it if I don't like it, but
Okay.
um, I feel like we have both been very open with each other about I want to accomplish something very big on my own. Neither of us are in a position where we are just like readily available access to the things we want.
Hmm.
And it is a lot of connection building and is it a lot of working on ourselves to get there. And that has caused both of us, and I will take accountability fully of there's been times where I could have been a better friend, but I put more of that energy into, yeah, but I really want this thing.
Hmm.
And I'm not going to see Justin as much as I want to. But hopefully we get to this end goal where there's a place where we can. But in the meantime, I probably didn't see Justin as much as I wanted to and have as good a relationship as I wanted to because I've been so focused on I want to do this. I want to be able to accomplish this. And to do that, I have to put so much of my time and energy into it that whatever's left. But I feel like this works because we both have that goal and that understanding of I get it. Like you do you, whatever you have to. And then with the spare, we can exchange along the way. But I'm projecting a little bit, but I think it's mutual. Of I wish there was more here, but I just want to say I'm very grateful for the almost 20 years of friendship and
Yeah,
all the memories along the way. Even though I wish there was more.
me too, man. I mean, I'm in a very similar place, especially this summer, especially. I across the board, I haven't been as present as maybe I would have liked to have been. Not only with you, but with my parents, with my family. Um, and it's been tough. Um, especially with like as you know, I've been, crisscrossing the country, not the country, but driving across this, the entire like state of Indiana, um, meeting bands and trying to do this thing that I deem to be really cool, make this documentary, and obviously going to Paris, and then moving to Boston. It's all been extremely busy, and I've sacrificed a lot of time, I think that I, not should have, but could have spent, at home with you and with my parents and my brother and everything. And it's that's something that I have been thinking about, especially with the move coming up so quickly. It was, I had fully intended to spend this summer almost every weekend up in Michigan. Uh, and that just didn't happen. Um, which, it sucks a little bit. Um, but there's a reason that I text you every time I'm in town. Uh, hey, I'm up for the weekend. Are you busy? Um, because that's just how much it means to me to be able to see you, and just come and hang out on your couch for 2 hours. Um, I'm really, really grateful to have you as my friend. And, you know, whatever this summer has still been, I'm grateful that you're here. Um, and I do hope that we can get to a place where both of us can spend a lot more time together, play a lot more golf, and do a lot more puzzles. Um, we're almost at 20 years, and I'm very, very grateful to have spent those with you. I love you, dude.
Hell yeah, I love you. I think that's the best part about this is that if I'm really thinking about it and being honest, I don't know if I'd do anything different,
No, that's fair.
but I still have the feeling like it's a high price to pay and I'm still willing to pay it, but it still sucks to pay. Even though I
Yeah,
do it, it's worth it to me, but man, does it suck. And it's nice to have a friend that like also understands that feeling to go, yeah, that's really tough, but I totally understand why you're doing it.
yeah. I mean, that's been my biggest thing. This not my biggest thing, but one of the biggest things this summer was, like I said, it was meant to be a summer of I'm home for the summer. Come see me. And then somehow I ended up putting 10,000 miles on my car, driving around Indiana and meeting all, spending more time with these strangers that make music that I love than with the people that I've spent, 20 years with. It's, would I do it differently? Probably not. It's been really cool, but it's also, I know that you get that too, where it's like, there's that little voice in the back of your head where it's like, maybe I could have spent this time differently.
It's just it's just the price of doing business like this and the things that we want to.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just, man, I wish it wasn't as much so
Yeah.
I could do other things along the way, but yeah, it just is what it is.
Is what it is. And, you know, life comes at you fast.
Today's episode is in partnership with Daily Jam. Daily Jam is my personal music playlist project. Currently, we are on year 6 of doing this. Daily Jam 6. The way it works is I add one new song every single day, 365 days a year. 366 on leap years, with no repeats. The standard for the songs is in the name. Every song, I believe, is good enough to be played on repeat all day long. My personal daily jam. Humbly and respectfully, I have incredible music taste. Check the link in the description or go to my Spotify profile, Caleb Wolfgang, to listen to any Daily Jam playlist. I guarantee that you will find songs you love and gems you've never heard before. Thank you to Daily Jam for being a partner of Just a Conversation.